Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I am Thlologelo Promise Rampa and this is Relocate to Australia with Promise. It is the #1 DIY relocation platform, okay? What I mean by that is if you were thinking of relocating to Australia, you can do it yourself. So this is how we do it ourselves, okay? I'm a girl from South Africa. I relocated to Australia 2 years ago. And I could not afford an agent, so I did the whole relocation process myself from A to B to Z to Z until I got here. I settled myself, everything I did it, okay? So if you're looking for information about how you can also do that, don't forget to subscribe, to like, to watch, to comment, and to do all the things that people do when they are here on YouTube so that you don't miss out on any of the videos that we will be then doing, okay? So today I am going to be talking about the TSS visa. TSS stands for Temporary Skills Shortage or Shortage Skills, one of the two, Temporary Skills Shortage Visa. Yes, the subclass 482. I hope I did not get that one wrong because I had to memorize it because it's been so long. This is the visa that we came to Australia with. It was the first one that we got before we got our permanent residency, but as I've explained in all my videos, we applied for 2 visas simultaneously, the TSS one and the PR, but the TSS one was the one that came first. The reason why it is important to know all these advantages and disadvantages about this visa, I feel that it is very important for you to know what you're getting into when they say, okay, fine, there's this TSS visa, and you're like, what is it about? What are you talking about? Because even with us, we knew that we wanted a sponsored visa, but we did not really know 100% what we were getting into. You can read about it, you can get everything that they tell you on the website, but sometimes there are some things that are there that you did not know. So even with me, I wish there were things that I knew before we also got this visa. I think it would have helped us also with our planning. But when we left South Africa, we were like on a panic mode. We were like, we need to get out. We need to get out. So we did not really get enough time to research and find out more information, you know, about coming here and the visa options and all of that. We were just like, whatever that it takes to go, we are gone. So when you eventually get here, obviously you get to see, oh, I should have planned. I should have planned. So this is why it was very important for me to then do this with you guys and explain to you what is the TSS visa, what is it all about, what are the good things about it, what are the bad things about it, so that you guys can also be prepared. So what I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be talking about all the advantages that I've identified about the TSS visa, having had been on it. I'm not going to only be talking about the advantages, but I'm also going to be looking at the disadvantages. But this is going to go into another video because I'm still trying to sell this product, okay? So I'll be the bearer of bad news in the next video about this visa. But for today, good vibes only. Let's look at all the advantages and see how far we can go with that. So #1, first thing about this visa that you need to know, you get sponsored. And I know there's so many people who are like, oh, promise, sponsored jobs, sponsored jobs. So yes, this is that one visa that you should be looking for if you want to be sponsored here. I'll be going into the whole sponsorship thing and how it works later on. But one thing that I will tell you, yes, this is the sponsorship visa. So basically the person that has employed you is the one that's going to be giving you then the money for the visa. They sometimes pay for like your flight tickets. Sometimes they pay for your shipping stuff and first month rental. It really depends on what you have agreed on with your employer. But yes, this is that one visa that then you get sponsored. It's just like, you know, in varsity when you get a sponsor who then pays for your fees. Kind of like the same situation. What you now need to do is then come here and be employed. There are certain T's and C's that apply to your contract because you're sponsored. But at least you know there's someone at least who's going to be paying for you coming here. It's gonna save you some money, and so yeah, it does save you some money. It saves you those initial costs because you still have to pay for other stuff. But at least you know with flights you'll be sorted. With sometimes first month accommodation you're sorted. Your shipping sorted, and whatever that also goes into your relocation, you are able to claim it back. But as I've explained to you, it is something that you would then have to discuss with the HR or the people that are employing you to say, okay, fine, how much are you giving me? What can I spend it on? And what are my maximums? What can't I spend it on? Yada, yada, yada. So yes, you get sponsored by your employer. They pay for everything, even the visa itself. So which kind of like, you know, takes away some of the stress that comes with this whole relocation stuff. And it's also nice when you're sponsored because you feel like, okay, fine, at least even when I'm going to this new country, somebody knows my name there. So it's you know, you just kind of feel comfortable, Nyana, a bit. It's not like just jumping in and you now have to start from scratch when no one knows your name and no one knows that you're even coming here. But at least when you're sponsored, then somebody knows that you're coming here, and you can then start building a community from there. Number 2 that I've identified as an advantage for this visa is that at least you've secured employment, which is good. Sometimes this visa goes from 2 to 4 years. So at least for 2 to 4 years, you know that you've got a job for as long as you can keep that job. But at least there's that bit of job security nyana with it when you then come here. And the other thing is, you know, as I've always told you also in my previous videos, people here need people. Okay, they need to employ people. So for as long as you're doing your job, they will keep you. You'll be good. You'll be fine. So all you just need to do is to make sure that you perform. Once you've secured this job, okay, you must work. You must show them what you're made of. Okay, you must represent. So the good thing is that, yes, you've secured that job, which is then great. So you don't have to worry about where your next meal is going to be coming from next month. That's the good thing about the TSS visa, okay? Come here, job security, it's all good. Next month, 2, 3, 4 months to come, then the next 2 to 4 years, at least you know there's going to be an income, which is great. One thing that I found about the TSS visa, I don't know if this would then be somebody else's experience, but with me and my husband, our processing time for this visa was so short. I think we got the visa in less than a week. Yes, I think it was in less than a week. We applied in December. It was just before the Christmas holidays, and I think maybe because it was about to be Christmas, they just wanted to make sure that, you know what, they start the year. Of which maybe it might have helped us because it was in December. People, you know, they don't want to start the new year with things from last year. They want to get rid of them. So I'm thinking maybe they're like, hey, let's just get rid of this thing. I don't know. But our processing time took less than a week for us to get this visa. On the website, they say it takes 6 to 9 months, of which I think has changed. The reason why I'm saying that's changed, I remember the time when we applied for the TSS visa, they said it would take something from like 2 to 3 months for you to get it. But again, I'm thinking because of COVID, they might have changed that because we don't know what's going on right now. But when I looked at it now, I was like, no, this time frame was not like this. 6 to 9 months was not for the TSS. The TSS had a shorter time frame. I'm not too sure. I might be wrong, but I don't think it was this long. So now at the moment they say it's 6 to 9 months. Yes, I think 6 to 9 months. But then that does not mean it's going to be 6 to 9 months before you get that visa. Sometimes you can get it, as I said, we got it in a week. Sometimes it can be 2 months, it can be 3 months. It really depends on a lot of things. If you are able to provide all the documents that your employer wants when you apply for this thing, I think it might take a shorter time because you'll be ticking the box real quick. But if there's going to be like back and forth where now your employer has to say, hey, we need this document, hey, we need this, we need that, that's something that might also kind of like prolong the process. So that's why you need to make sure that you do your research and you know what these people want so that your process can be like much more smoother. It won't guarantee that, yes, you will be getting your visa quicker if you've got all your paperwork and everything done. But I think it does kind of like add to the outcome of it maybe just being like quicker. I don't know. So yes, the processing time for this visa are much more quicker than for the PR because the processing time for the permanent residency is longer. It can take sometimes 2 years. So with this one, at least it's 6 to 9 months. It's better than 2 years. So the one thing that I love about this visa is that you don't need to do the admin. Yes, you are going to obviously collect like your documents, do your skills assessment and provide it to your employer. But your employer literally applies for everything. They are the ones who go then onto the website and put in everything and then upload your documents. You don't need to do the whole admin of everything. The reason why I'm saying this is an advantage is because when you do your PR, like I did when we did our PR, I had to be the one that did everything and submit everything and fill in everything. Oh, the stress. So at least this one kind of like takes the pressure off where you wait for your employer to say to you, this is what we want, this is what we need. And this is the other thing that I will tell you, Nam. There is no need for you to wait for your employer to say, these are the documents that you want. If you do your research and you know what is needed for a TSS visa, it will then be easier for you to say to your employer, hey, hold up, this is what we are going to need. So, take these. And with them, they'll feel like, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. Because if you know what then a TSS visa is, when they talk to you about it and you feel like these ones are trying to scam me, you can identify real quick because you did your research. So if you do your research and you know what you're talking about, I know it will be so exciting because now you've got this person who's then offered you a job and all of that. But sometimes when you are in the mercy of somebody else, they are able to do anything and anything with you. So to protect yourself, make sure that you're also clued up on what's going on with the TSS visa so that nobody will rob you. This is the world. People don't care about nobody. So you have to care about yourself and have your own back. So make sure that even when you are applying for this and they're like, we want this document or whatever, and you know, yeah, no, I've seen the government saying that they want this, they want that. So you can give them your documents knowing fully well that you are protected and you are sure that this is a job that the Australian government knows about it, okay? Ooh, this is one thing that I love about this visa. And I know it's like a question that a lot of people are worried about, especially when you're like above the age of 45. I think it's 40 or 45 right now. I think it's 45 with the permanent residency visa. You won't be able to qualify for it once you reach a certain age. There are some visas that you are unable to qualify for and come to work in Australia. I'm thinking that it's probably because they're like, okay, they're looking at the fact that maybe you are not so productive after a certain age. I don't know. But in Australia, they do want people who are in their most productive years. What most productive, is that right? Most productive years? Yes. They want people who would be able to contribute to this country for a lot of years, okay? So with this one visa, the good thing about it is that you don't need to worry about your age. So there are no age requirements for this visa. So at whatever age, when you're ready, you can be 50, I guess, I'm hoping, where you're like, okay, fine, I want to try it out. Let me go see what's out there. Then you can apply for this visa and then you can actually get it. So the other thing is, I think the reason why they don't really worry about the age is because the visa is like 2 to 4 years. And then you can go back to your country if you want to. If you want to stay longer, then it's up to you and your employer. There are other ways where you can have then discussions with your employer about staying longer. But I'm thinking like it's in a situation like this, right? Let's say, for example, you're like 55. All your children are out of the house. You don't have any responsibilities like that. They've gone to varsity. They are responsible for their own lives. And you're like, you know what? Let me go see what's out there. Or maybe you want to build your retirement. You want to build your retirement and make sure that you retire well. And I'm telling you, in Australia, there's a lot of money. So if you are at an age where, like, let's say, for example, you are in your mature ages and you're like, okay, fine, I don't have any children or any responsibilities like that. I can just rent out my house or do whatever in South Africa, put things on hold, come to Australia, work for 2 to 4 years, make sure you save. I'm telling you, you would have set yourself up well when you go back to South Africa, because when you're going to convert the money from Australia, going to, let's put it like this, right? You get a job that pays you about 100,000 Australian dollars, so that's $1 million in South Africa after tax and everything. At least, you know, once you pay the expenses and whatever, and you put a target to say every year I want to save at least 500,000, maybe, let's say, if that's a possibility, because now you wouldn't be having any responsibilities here. So what would you be spending your money on? So if you are able to save 500,000 in 4 years, that's 2 million. In 4 years, 2 million retirement. You are good. So for people who are then worried about age and they're like, oh no, I won't be able to migrate because of my age, I'm telling you, there's a TSS visa that does not have any age requirements, and this would set you up well. Pretty well. You'll retire nicely. You'll be all good and comfortable. So tell your parents. Tell your parents, hey, Promise said there's this TSS visa, and if you got these qualifications and all of that, you can go there and then you can negotiate a salary, because now with all the years and all the experience that you've accumulated, I'm sure you can get a position. And then you make sure that you work, you save money, and then you can retire well. When you get back to South Africa, if you have any debts, you pay them off real quick, you buy Mercedes Benz, you're good to go. So number 6, the good thing about this visa is that sometimes it really depends on you and your employer, but sometimes it does lead you to another visa that's going to help you stay longer. So sometimes this visa can be a pathway. So how they put it on the website is that it is a pathway to a permanent residency. When they say pathway, these people are tricky. they basically mean that you are not guaranteed that you're going to get a PR, but you might, should you qualify. Because again, as I've explained to you guys, with the permanent residency visa, there is an age requirement. So sometimes when you're not in that age bracket that gets you the most points, if you are going to be doing like the point system kind of PR visa, then it might be a disadvantage. So they don't want to promise you and say, no, this one definitely, the minute you get from this visa, the TSS visa, you're going to go straight into a PR. They just want to just, you know, say there's a chance. There's a high chance that you might. So what I like about it is that yes, there is then the chance for you to get into a PR, but again, it is something that you and your employer can discuss. One thing that I know, sometimes employer do sponsor their employees. Like if you came on a TSS, they are able to also apply for a PR for you under the employer scheme, right? Which is a great thing. It is a discussion that you can also have with your employer. One thing that I will tell you, when you get employed, you make sure that even in your contract, just try your chances. Even in your contract, you say to them, is there a possibility that you can sponsor me for a PR after 4 years? Put it in the contract. Then after you do the sponsorship for me for 4 years, then I'll work for 4 more years after if you give me PR. So you got 8 years with me. Good news for you. But it's just things that you can negotiate in J if there's a possibility. If you don't want to risk it, that's still okay. But just try, and as long as you're informed, guys, as long as you're informed and you know what you're doing and you know what you want to do, and you just pray to God that, you know, that employment is going to be good employment, because there are some employments that are just off, you know. So you just make sure that even when you then do these negotiations with the company that's going to be hiring you, then you are sure that, you know what, these 8 years I'll be sacrificing my life knowing that this is what's going to go on at the end of the day, as long as I can then reach that permanent residency visa. We'll be talking about the permanent residency later, but in J, I'm just saying it in J just so you can have it registered in your mind, saying that there is something called a permanent residency visa. And yes, the TSS can lead you to that permanent residency visa if you want to stay in Australia longer than 2 or 4 years. The other thing about this visa is that you can enroll for any course at any university for the duration of your stay. So what that basically means is that there's some people, obviously, that I've told you, there's some people who leave their country as students coming here on student visas. So with this visa, you don't have to apply then for a student visa to study if you want to study here. So you can come here with the TSS, being employed, and then you're like, you know what, maybe just because I'm here already, let me just get a certificate for international qualification. Because then after you get your qualifications, even if you're not going to be staying here forever, like maybe let's say 2-4 years after the visa is done and the government is like, no, we are done with your skills, goodbye, you can go home. At least, you know, now you've got like an international certificate. So when you get to South Africa or wherever you're going, you're like, bah, me, I don't come just, I don't just come. I come with international experience and I come with a certificate. So, can we talk about the money? So, at least, you know, there's that option. So, maximize, guys, whatever, maximize. But the other thing that I will tell you, I would say this to you. If you're planning on staying here for longer, make sure that if you do come on this TSS visa, study something. Because then, even if your employer is going to be like, I'm done with you, I don't want you anymore, you can then look for either other jobs with this qualification that you've got. And also with the PR, you are able to then up your points a bit if you have then studied in Australia and then graduated, and also if you have worked. So it kind of like puts you in a good place, even after when you see that this visa, with this one I can't be using it forever, and your employer is not talking about them sponsoring you for a permanent residency, then you can go your own way. So I'm saying to you guys, listen, when you come here and you know that you're not going to be worried about family or all those kind of things, and you are in a space where you are able to study something, and then at least, you know, when you're going to be applying for other visas, now you've got then that at least now you've got that qualification here and you've got that work experience. It's really gonna help you. And the good thing is that you don't even have to apply for then another visa to then study. It automatically comes with this visa. The other thing that you should know, though, is that the government will not be able to help you with your fees, so you're gonna have to cough out the fees yourself. But in J, it's worth the risk sometimes. The one other good thing that I've realized about this visa is that you are able to travel in and out of the country as much as you like for that 2 or 4 years that you're gonna be on that visa. So I know there are other visas. I think it's I think it's one of the student visas. I'm not too sure. There are some visas where once you get granted that visa and they tell you you're going to be in Australia for 2 years or 4 years or 5 years, you are unable to go home. I don't know why, but yes, that's the situation. So with this visa, at least you will be able to go in and out of Australia. At least then you will be able, if you like saved money, you'll be able to like go holiday somewhere and come back. But with other visas, you can't do that. So the good thing about this one is that you are free to go in and out of Australia for as long as your visa is still valid. So number 9, I've said this in my previous videos, you are able to relocate with your family on a TSS visa. So basically you can relocate with your wife and your children. And with some people who are in some complicated situations, if you've got a partner and you're not married, for as long as you can prove that this is, what do they call it, de facto partner or something like that. So it's somebody that at least you can prove that I do live with this person, we do share a life together, and you can prove it in some type of way. Most of the time, I think it's via, I think they interview people sometimes. They get to see if you share bills. Maybe you've got like, I don't know, some bills that are addressed to the same address or something like that. I don't know the process because I've not done it, but you are able to come here with your family. And also, if you can also prove that that one family member is your dependent, then you are, yes, able to immigrate with them. So let's say, for example, you got the TSS visa granted to you, but you were unaware that you can come with your family. The good thing about this visa is that they've got like TSS visa, and then they've got this one, it's like the baby of the TSS visa, which is called the Subsequent Entrant visa. So it's still under this TSS visa, where you would be able then to put your family members there. So let's put it like this, right? Lindsay came here. Lindsay's my husband. Lindsay came here alone, and he was unaware that he can come with his wife and children. And once he got here, he was told, no, you should have come with your wife and your children. I'm not sure if he's going to be the one that pays for it or the employer does pay for it. That's where I'm not too sure. But you can apply for this subsequent entrant visa, where then he can then say, hey, Thlologelo, come with the kids. The visa has been granted. So they also then get on, kind of like clings on to the husband's visa. And then whatever rights that he's got, then they also get it. So at least it's not the end of the day if you then got this visa without you including your family because you were unaware. Or maybe if the company was saying to you, no, we're not going to be relocating your whole family, we're just coming for you, then at least, you know, once they've granted that visa, you can then bring your family. So it's good news. Number 11 kind of goes back to the 2 other points. When you come with your family, your whole family gets the same rights you get. So whatever applies for you as the main person, your family gets. And I always say this, when you're going to be coming here with a partner, and you are at a disadvantage where you can be the main applicant, then do your skills assessment if your skills are on the skills occupation list, because when you come here, you're going to be having the same rights. So you can then start looking for a job. You won't have to start then from scratch, then doing the skills assessment, because that's now going to be eating up on your visa time. So when you come here, and now you are ready, and then you're like, okay, fine. The minute you get, sometimes you can even start applying for jobs way before you come here, and you tell them, yes, I'm on a TSS visa. It does give me rights. I am a graduate. I don't have any work experience, but I do have working rights. And you can explore that with employers when you come here to say, okay, fine, what can I do? And it also kind of advances your chances of you getting then that experience that you'll be needing later on. Let's say, for example, in my head, this is what I'm thinking. You're on a TSS visa with your partner, right? And then you're planning to be in Australia for the longest. So you do your skills assessment. You and a partner do your skills assessment. The main applicant then applies, and then you get the visa. You all get the same working rights. Okay? So when you then come here, you get a job. So if anything should happen, let's say, for example, maybe your partner does not like the employment or something happens at the job, at least now you are working, right? And maybe let's say it's 2 years later, now you can also qualify for a TSS visa or whatever. At least it kind of like you can then navigate your options, because now you then have work experience because you've been working. Or once you like, okay, fine, let's now apply for a permanent residency visa because I don't want to be within this job anymore. At least you know, okay, fine. We are able to qualify for the permanent residency visa because we both did this. Or you look at whoever has the maximum chances of then you getting that visa. It just kind of makes the situation a lot more better for you guys if you as the other partner do have a skill that would be relevant here and you want to come here, just know that you will be getting working rights. Make sure that you maximize on it by doing the relevant skills assessment if possible, trying to get it to be positive so that when you come here, then you can also work. And if you're worried about, then, as I've explained to you guys, if you're worried about your skills assessment not being positive, I have uploaded videos about the skills assessment and how you can navigate around them, doing your research and talking to the people and explaining to them what your situation is and what you're trying to achieve. That's what happened with me. I was told that I had to have 2 years work experience, and I'm like, where am I gonna get the 2 years work experience? I'm telling you. So they did give me a positive skills assessment because I was able to prove certain things that they wanted. So fight to make sure that even when you come here, you don't just come here as a passenger in the plane. No, you come here and you're also going to work, because also that's going to also advance the situation in the home. There are now 2 incomes coming in. So you will be getting working rights just like your partner, if your situation is just like mine. And then it's whatever rights that your partner is going to be getting, you're also going to be getting, and the children are also going to be getting those rights. So, and when the visa expires, your partner's visa expires, it also expires for you and everybody else, and then it's goodbye, hello, goodbye. The other good thing about this visa is that you can apply for it when you are inside Australia or outside Australia. What is good about this is that sometimes there's some visas where they tell you, hi, this one you cannot apply for if you are inside Australia already. You're like, oh. And then there are other ones where they're like, yeah, you can apply for this one if you are outside of Australia. You're like, but guys, what is this? So with this visa, whether you are inside Australia or outside Australia, you can apply for it. Obviously with outside Australia, if you've never been to Australia or you're outside of Australia, that's when then you're planning to come here. But if you are within Australia, I think the reason why they did this is because they do understand that sometimes you come here on a TSS visa and your employment ends and you still want to continue being here. So once obviously your employment ends, it means that the visa ends. So you then have to kind of like plan to go back home. They do sometimes have these bridging visas, or kind of like you'll then go on to a visiting visa. It's very complicated. But let's say, for example, your employment ends and you're already here in Australia and you've established a life, or you're trying to establish a life. They do recognize that. So at least then they know, okay, fine, you can look for another employment. And maybe if you're lucky enough, that employer might say, yes, let me sponsor you. And then, because the other good thing about that is they won't have to pay for actually your flights and you actually getting here, of which is good news. So the only thing that they just have to do is to sponsor you for this visa, and you start working for them, and then you start a new TSS visa. So I think that's why they're like, it's okay for you to apply for this visa when you're inside of here. So do not worry that, oh, when I come here and then the job ends, what's going to happen with me? Know that you can then get another job and apply for another TSS visa. If you are granted, then you can stay here for another 2 to 4 years. Good news. Number 13, after your employment has ended, you've reached the 2 years or 4 year period that you've been given. Then now you're like, me, Australia is not the place for me. You want to go home. At least you can get your superannuation, your pension paid to you. I think there are conditions that come with that. I think it has to be of a certain amount, or I don't know. But at least you can get your pension, which is good news because, the superannuation here looks good. That's the one thing I'll tell you. It looks really good. But again, it's dollars. I mean. So even when you get the superannuation, when you take it home to South Africa, yeah, it will be looking very pretty after 2 and 4 years. So that's why I'm saying, even if you're at an age where you are above 45 or 50 and you can apply for other visas, this is that one visa that's gonna make sure that at least if you save money and you're good with your money, when you go back to your country, you are good, okay? Got money. The other thing there, as I've explained to you, if you won't be then staying in Australia, then when you go back home, you've got international experience, baba. When they're like, hey, me, whatever, on your CV, you're like, bam, me, this is where I have worked. And this is what I've learned. And this is what I've gained. Because they're always saying, sometimes it's always good to go out there and see what's going on for you to then be able to contribute to the country where you come from, you know. And even when you have conversations, you're like, this is what I want in this. This is how people do their things. Because you learn so many things when you come here. And systems work differently here. Well, systems here actually work. That's the one thing that I realized when I came here. You know, as I've explained in my other video, was that when I got to the conclusion that, okay, fine, I'm learning social work that is written by Americans and international people. How am I not able to then practice there? Because you're teaching me your social work. Because those systems don't work in Africa. I'm telling you, things that we are taught in varsity about social work, they don't work in Africa. They don't. I'm telling you. Because you don't have the resources. It is not in jail for people like us. It doesn't work. So when I came here, I was like, whoa, this is what they mean. Oh, and this is why it's working. Okay. Because it was made for here. That's what they did. And they just sold the books in Africa. They don't work. They do not work. So at least you are able to also say, hey, me, I did engineering here. And when they say DDC here, this is how they do it here. Then we can maybe apply that here. And you now have new ideas that are not like everyone else's idea in the company. So, you know, kind of gives you that labels, okay? But it also gives you that, you know, that knowledge about how people do things differently. And sometimes you are unable to be exposed to such if you've only worked for this one company your whole life, and that's the only thing you've ever known and the only thing you've ever done. At least when you go somewhere else and you see how people do things, you can be like, oh, this is why it's not working. We've been trying to crack it for 10 years and we haven't, and this is why. So sometimes this is exactly what you need for you to advance your career, or to just, you know, learn more about yourself and what you're able to do. You never know. The last and number 15 about this visa is that, you know what, now this is what I've learned. Being outside of your home country, being taken out of your comfort zone, you learn so much, not only about yourself, but also about how people do this life thing. And it exposes you and your family and your children to a life that is different from where you are coming from. So imagine you come here with your children and they get like 2 or 4 years education here. Trust me, when they go back home, they'll be here. Sometimes even their understanding of things will be here because they did things different, you know, because education here is advanced. So it just then exposes your family to that. So even if you're not going to be here for the rest of your life, just having that opportunity, and even in your life one day when you're 50, 60, 100 years old, and having discussions with people like me, I've been to Australia and this is what Australians do. It becomes part of your life journey. So with this visa, at least you are given that opportunity to come and experience Australia. And even if you're not going to be staying here for the longest of the longest, you have just exposed yourself to people, and they've also exposed themselves to you and taught you how they do things, and you also teach them how you do things, and you share that knowledge and all of that, and this world just grows. Okay, so that's it for today. Next up, we're talking about the disadvantages of this visa. Sorry to break the bad news, but it gotta happen. So bye.